I've lived on this land since I was old enough to hold a shovel. Every inch of soil here carries memories of my father's sweat and my mother's laughter. Out here, the air smells of fresh hay, damp soil, and honest work. Some folks call it dirty. I call it home. But peace is fragile when someone like Karen moves next door. She arrived a little over a year ago, dragging her perfect little world behind her like a shiny new suitcase. You know the type. Fresh manicure, fake smile, clipboard in hand. The moment she stepped out of her SUV, she looked around as if she'd just landed on Mars. The first thing she said wasn't, "Hello," it was, "Doesn't that smell bother you?" I just smiled. Around here, the scent of manure isn't an insult. It's a sign of life. But to Karen, it was apparently a declaration of war. Within a week, she'd joined the HOA board and started sending community improvement notices to everyone within shouting distance. Noise violations, property appearance, livestock regulations, you name it. Only one problem, my land wasn't under HOA control. My family's farm existed long before the HOA, and we were legally exempt. But that didn't stop her from trying to civilize me. First, she complained about the rooster, then the tractor, then the compost pile. I tried to ignore her. You don't argue with people like that. You just let them run out of steam. But then one hot afternoon in July, I noticed something strange. My irrigation pressure was low. The cows weren't getting enough water, and the sprinklers sputtered like they were choking. I checked every valve and line. Nothing seemed broken, until I walked past the fence that separated my property from Karen's. There, half hidden under her ornamental bushes, was a fresh patch of disturbed soil and a glimmer of a PVC pipe that sure looked familiar. My pipe. I knelt down, brushed the dirt away, and saw the truth. She'd connected a small hose from my water line straight into her garden system. She was stealing my water. The same woman who called me environmentally irresponsible had been siphoning my well supply to water her precious roses. I felt my jaw tighten. I wanted to storm right over and call her out, but instead, I decided to stay calm and gather proof. Folks like her only learn when you show them their own reflection. So I installed a hidden trail camera near the fence. The next morning, I woke up early, brewed my coffee, and waited. The footage came in around 8:30 a.m. There she was, Karen, in her spotless white sun hat and floral gloves, crouched by the fence, checking the hose like a burglar checking for alarms. She twisted the valve, filled her watering can, and smiled like she'd just outsmarted the whole world. I watched that clip twice, my blood simmering hotter each time. Still, I wanted more evidence. The next day, I quietly marked the water meter readings, then compared them to the HOA records. Sure enough, the numbers didn't lie. Every night around 7 p.m., my well pump kicked on when I wasn't using it. I set up a second camera, this one aimed directly at the connection point, and waited again. 3 nights later, the proof came clear as daylight. Karen watering her lawn with my supply, humming to herself while her sprinklers danced in the glow of the porch lights. That was it. I had her. But rather than rush to the authorities, I wanted her to experience what she'd put me through. So I planned something poetic, something that would hit her pride harder than any fine or citation. I spent the morning digging up the section of pipe she'd tapped into and rerouted it through an old holding tank I used for runoff. Inside that tank sat a thick mix of mud, fertilizer, and manure water, the stuff I usually spread on the back fields to enrich the soil. By the time I finished, her secret line was still connected, but now it led to something far less refreshing than well water. I capped my side, set the camera one last time, and waited for karma to start flowing. Welcome to Prodigy Tales, where we share top-notch HOA Karen stories that are dramatic, entertaining, and unforgettable. Please like and subscribe to support our growing community and never miss the latest chaos-filled tales. The next evening, I sat on my porch watching the sun dip behind the fields, waiting. The air was still, the kind that holds its breath before something happens. Sure enough, at 9 sharp, the motion alert buzzed on my phone. Karen, in her spotless floral gloves and wide-brim hat, slipped out from her yard like a sneaky raccoon. She crouched beside the fence, twisted the hidden valve, and smiled as her sprinklers began to hum. Only this time, what came through that line wasn't fresh water. It was the dark, heavy mix I'd rerouted from the manure runoff tank. For a few seconds, she didn't notice. She walked through the mist like she was in a commercial for lawn perfection until the smell hit her. Her smile collapsed into a look of horror, and she let out a scream that probably woke half the neighborhood. The sprinklers sprayed everywhere, her shoes, her dress, her fancy potted roses, coating everything in that rich brown fertilizer brew. She stumbled, slipped, and grabbed the hose, trying to stop the flow, but it only made things worse. I watched from my porch, sipping my coffee, the camera catching every second. She was furious, shouting, gagging, demanding to know what was in her water. When she finally saw me watching, she screamed, "You did this! I'll have you arrested." I just lifted my phone and said, "Already have proof you stole from me, Karen. Want to see?" That shut her up fast. Within minutes, the sheriff's cruiser rolled down the road, siren cutting through the night. Turns out she'd called 911 claiming I'd sabotaged her irrigation. The deputy stepped out, took one look at her mud-soaked shoes, and raised an eyebrow. I handed him my phone, the footage ready to play. There it was, her sneaking out, connecting the hose, stealing my water. The deputy sighed and said, "Ma'am, looks like you did this to yourself." She sputtered excuses, said I'd set her up, said she was testing for leaks. But the time-stamped videos and my well-meter readings told the truth. The sheriff made her disconnect the line on the spot and wrote a trespassing citation right there in her driveway. The next day, word spread fast. The same neighbors she used to boss around couldn't stop talking. Someone even posted a clip online calling her the HOA hydrant queen. Within 24 hours, her Facebook group vanished, her garden turned brown, and her reputation crumbled faster than wet soil. She stopped coming outside for weeks. I fixed my pipes, flushed the system, and for the first time in months, the farm was quiet again. No more surprise inspections, no more fake complaints, just the sound of wind and water where they belonged. Every time I walk past the fence, I still see that muddy patch near her roses, a little reminder that karma has its own irrigation system. Sometimes justice doesn't need a courtroom. It just needs the right kind of flow. So what do you think? Did Karen get what she deserved? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns right here on Prodigy Tales.